Let's get started with our lead story. The Pentagon now accepting openly gay and lesbian recruits. It cites a recent federal court decision that struck down the controversial don't ask, don't tell policy on gays in the military. A former Army lieutenant who was kicked out of the military for being gay is seizing the moment by re-enlisting.
A week ago, even with all these qualifications, I would have been turned away if I was said that I'm gay and I intend to be honest about it. Today was very different.
And they handed you a pamphlet, too.
They said, stand up, stand out, and stand Army strong. I was very excited.
So your paperwork is going through?
It's going through, and they're processing it. I'm very happy about it.
And again, government lawyers have just filed an injunction appealing that decision. The Obama administration wants Congress to end don't ask, don't tell through legislation.
I agree with the basic principle that anybody who wants to serve in our armed forces and make sacrifices on our behalf, on behalf of our national security, anybody should be able to serve. And they shouldn't have to lie about who they are in order to serve. And so we are moving in the direction of ending this policy. It has to be done in a way that is orderly, because we are involved in a war right now. But this is not a question of whether the policy will end. This policy will end, and it will end on my watch. But I do have an obligation to make sure that I'm following some of the rules. I can't simply ignore laws that are out there. I've got to work to make sure that they are changed.
The Service Members Legal Defense Network is a national nonprofit policy organization dedicated to ending don't ask and don't tell. Executive Director Aubrey Sarvis joining us from Washington. And Aubrey, first of all, are you surprised at all by the government's decision to appeal the most recent ruling?
No, I'm not surprised at all. We were expecting it, and unfortunately, it's just something we're going to have to work our way through. But this underscores that the Justice Department, the Defense Department, is determined, at least for the moment, to keep this law on the books. The reality is the toothpaste is out of the tube. And I don't think that the Defense Department or the Justice Department can put it back in. That's an extraordinary feat to pull off, and no one has ever pulled it off. The other reality is no harm has occurred because of don't ask, don't tell being revoked by this federal judge.
Do you accept...
None of the things that the government has alleged would happen have occurred. There is no chaos. The only uncertainty is with the Justice Department and the Defense Department.
The president says he wants to end it legislatively. It was created through legislation. He wants to end it through legislation. What's wrong with that position?
Well, I think the president makes a good point, and it's only underscored by what's going on by his Justice Department. We're going to have uncertainty in the courts, unfortunately, probably for some time. The best way to end that uncertainty is for the Senate to act next month in the lame duck when they come back to Washington. There's a bill on the Senate calendar. It provides a pathway for ending don't ask, don't tell. And that should be the best route this year to end this chaos and this uncertainty with respect to this law being reinforced, probably going back on the books in the next few days.
Yeah, let's talk about some practicalities here. What kind of reception can gay men and women expect when they go to military recruiting offices today? What's your thought on this?
Well, again, I think there's some uncertainty with respect to how the Defense Department is getting the word out. Ironically, under don't ask, don't tell, the one occasion when the military was not to ask about your sexual orientation was when you went down to the office, the recruiter's office, to enlist. The memo that's been issued by the Defense Department now, I think, is an attempt to make it clear that recruiters should not ask. The problem is this may only be in effect for a few days. The stay that the Justice Department has sought, in all likelihood, will be granted by the Ninth Circuit Appeals Panel. And that means that don't ask, don't tell is going to be back on the books again. And statements that gay and lesbian service members use when they go in these offices to enlist, unfortunately, could be used against them next month or next year.
All right, Aubrey, appreciate your time. Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much.
Our pleasure.